This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission to
All right, we're back into trivia. We all got a little tired last time we did this, and these are long-ass episodes, so that's understandable. So we're going to kick right back in to the Two Towers. Guys, before we do that, do you have anything you want to contribute?
Like Sam and Frodo inching towards Mordor, we were like, we can't go on, Danny. We can't go on.
Destroy it at Mordor.
I can't do it, Danny. You must go on without me. And Danny's like, no, I'm not going without you.
I won't leave the trivia without you.
So we made camp, and now we're back.
That's right. See, we're doing a pretty good job kind of, structuring the podcast episodes around the structure of the movies and stuff.
When do we get to go back to the Shire? That's all I want.
It's not the same, TC. It's never going to be the same.
Sam would beg to differ, potentially. All right, trivia. Are you ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I don't know, I crossed off a bunch of stuff here, so it's going to be kind of a guessing game of what I stated and what I didn't, but hopefully I have my note-taking skills down correctly. But we were talking about the warg attack scene. That's a scene towards the middle of the movie where they're trying to go to Helm's Deep from the Rohan city, and a bunch of pig hyenas with orcs on their backs attack the caravan of people. When they were filming that, all the people on swords were just swinging at nothing. It was basically like a Star Wars Episode 1 situation, except for they were actually on location. But there was no CG, there was no extras anywhere. It was all just the good guys swinging at nothing in the middle of this nice landscape.
They just decided to fill in the wargs later. They really didn't have they're like,
they
okay,
didn't
guys,
coordinate it.
Oh, wow.
This is one of the parts where they didn't even coordinate it because they didn't have time. They basically because it was a lot of horses too. So getting the horses to that location was a lot of work, and they couldn't do it every day because the horses couldn't stay in the middle of nowhere every day. So it was a lot of work to get the horses out there. Peter, this was in the middle of filming, so Peter is busy as shit. They didn't have this storyboard. They knew they needed the scene, so they all just ran around like idiots in this field pretending to battle.
Do you have is there a scene in the behind the scenes? Because I'd kind of love to see the director, whoever's in charge there trying to direct, and being like, okay, what I want you guys to do is swing at nothing. And the puzzled look on the actor's face is going, what do you mean? You mean nothing? Or am I supposed to be there's something over there? I said, no, you swing at nothing. What?
There wasn't any questioning.
No,
the director, there is footage of the director doing that. He's like, yeah, we're going to add in CG later. And everyone's like, okay, so
don't worry about
it.
We
ride around and do action stuff. I don't know. Figure it out. And they just rolled the entire time they were out there. And then they went through the footage of them doing that. And the artists were like, okay. They basically, in the editing room, the artists were there trying to figure out which shots they could add things to. So they kind of worked backwards, in a sense, from the footage to be like, okay, this 2-second shot, we could the shot of the king guy, what's his name, stabbing the warg right in the mouth. Theoden stabs him right in the mouth. It looks like that was planned or something, but no, he's just swinging a sword around, and then the
they're
artists
sort
were
of imagining
they're
fighting a thing, I guess, right? Because they'd be like,
they didn't even know what it looked like at the time because the design for these things didn't exist.
But they kind of said,
look,
you're going to be fighting, orcs on pigs,
right?
And so they're like, so you're. I imagine they're not just doing nothing randomly. They're still probably trying in their minds to enact something, right? So
I mean, it's a slippery slope, John.
I know.
They're basically
it looks good.
They're making
it worked.
I mean,
it
did work.
It
was
a good battle scene.
It was a lot of editing. There were
a lot of cuts. No long sequences there for obvious reasons,
except for a few, which made it balanced. Like the scene where all the wargs are running over the hill.
Yeah,
and that was a long shot, and that was planned.
You don't need the actors in that either, right?
Right.
So you can just you get that all worked out beforehand. So your long shots can be if they're all the CG things. Right?
So it's not just obviously all short shots shitty action movies where it's they have nothing. They're just confusing me. That they can trick you into thinking that this is well thought out.
If you looked at the long shots, it would have looked really silly because they'd be like, "Where? I got this guy here. Oh, where?
Well,
there's wargs coming from the sky. It's we have to take care of that swing. The warg came from up above.
There's something up there, something down there. I don't know.
I mean, the sound probably covers it too.
Yeah, that's true.
The ability to sort of keep that consistent, it tricks your brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the sound effects were a bunch of different things for the wargs. The best sound effect they put in to kind of jump to this one was the Nazguls was a donkey. The big ass dragon that carries the Dark Riders.
That's kind of ironic.
Donkeys make some pretty ugly noises, apparently.
Yeah, those are good. That was a pretty cool looking creature, the way they did it. So like the wings and the worm neck, kind of, or like a snake neck with, I don't know.
Snake neck, that's what they were going for, yep. Nailed it, John. Good job recognizing animals. You have kids.
Have you ever read those books? They're very popular now. It's like...
Which ones?
It's blank versus blank, and it'll be like honey badger versus shark. It's something really weird. But anyway, it's actually kind of a trick because it goes through and just gives you all kinds of facts about the animals. But its theme is if there was a cage match with these two animals and who would win.
Does it tell you at the end?
Yeah. But it's all just sort of, that all sort of is kind of made up, but it just tells you all the different things these animals can do to sort of like attack something or protect themselves. They're quite popular. Anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. Can I borrow those?
Oh, you go to your library. You get all kinds.
The shot where Gollum is chasing a fish down a kind of a little stream, and he ends up catching it, and he's really happy, and he kind of rolls around after he catches it. Do you remember this
he
shot
sings
at all?
a song too, doesn't he?
No. So that was when he was in that pit when they were captured.
Oh yeah, that's when he does a
pit.
song that he sings. Right.
This is before. This is him just running. They're just like camping out. It's right. So he catches it, and then the singing. No, it doesn't. It's when Sam takes the fish, cooks it, and he's like, "You ruined it," or whatever. I think.
I thought that was conies, not fish.
That was conies. It was a scene in the middle of the movie where they're walking around in the woods, and I can't even describe it
all
clearly.
the camping and the cooking and the catching of things kind of does blend together a little bit. Yeah.
It's the one in the very background. There's a little waterfall that he's close to when he's rolling around. They location scouted that shot, and when they got there that day, they only had like one day to do it because everything's moving so fast. It's covered in snow, and the stream was frozen. So instead of just saying, fuck it, let's pack up and go home, they got everybody on the crew to put like heat lamps. They had like a fire hose. I don't know how the hell they got a fire hose, but they were blasting all the snow and ice with like water and heat to melt everything.
Oh, damn.
So like,
that's crazy.
It's it took them all morning. So like, I don't know when morning starts, but it took them till noon to melt everything they wanted to melt in the shot.
So everyone's just like hanging out waiting for them to melt the fucking
Well, they're all
scenery?
helping melt it, apparently.
Right. Everybody's got their pocket lighter out. Yeah.
Wow.
People were shoveling it out. They were hosing it down. They were blasting it with lamps, blasting it with fans, just like whatever they could do to clear it out. And they cleared it out. And that water was freezing cold. They put Andy Serkis in there, and he said like it was the most painful thing of the shoot was getting in that water and acting. Because it was as close to freezing as, flowing water could get, basically.
Damn.
Yeah. All for that shot, which I can't even describe because it's in the middle of all these other things. But, they had it planned. Everyone was there. Fuck it. Get in the water, Andy.
That's right.
This is your job. This is how you get famous, buddy.
That's right.
Viggo broke his tooth on the sword. I think I talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep. You did.
So they had the miniature for Helm's Deep. That was one of the first things they built. Did I talk about how that came along? The Helm's Deep stuff? Stop me if I said this before. Back in 1998, when they were trying to pitch the project to Miramax and Harvey Weinstein.
Okay, we didn't go that far.
We didn't
before,
okay,
so this is
like
new.
way back. They had been working on the script for a while. Peter just spent a bunch of his money making there's like one. I'll get to the exact scale, but it's like some very small scale model of Helm's Deep, but a full size model. And they had it created, and it was, it looks like it's 25 feet tall and it's like 30 feet wide. It's huge. And Peter Jackson is standing in front of it. It's not painted or anything, but it's like all detailed and it looks really nice. And it's in front of like a VHS camera. Like the camera quality is really shitty, but it's just Peter with his ragged hair, with his shorts on, with his no shoes on, his like very odd defined look, talking to the camera being like, okay, so what we're going to do here is like, this is a miniature. We're going to build 3 of these sets. One of them is going to be this small. One of them is going to be a little bigger. And the other one's going to be full size. And we're planning on doing, and he's pitching the idea for the movie using this miniature set. And it's specifically to Miramax at the time. They ended up using that and developing that set for the second movie. And a lot of the wide shots, you're seeing miniatures. Like there's barely any CG of Helm's Deep, if any at all. There's a lot of like CG, melding of things together. Like for example, they built all the full size stuff in a rock quarry in different areas. So like it looks like there's tiers as it goes up. they built each individual tier in a different location along the same rock quarry, and then they used motion control cameras to move the camera in the same way, and they could just stack the different sets on top of each other in the same shot as the camera moved around it, which is how you got all those like
sick.
Yeah. And then like if you have that where you see all the people and the horses going up the stairs, like all that shit is real. They built like a real set. They talked a lot about how in a lot of the rock sets it was just like painted foam and stuff like that, but the Helm's Deep set and the rock quarry was all concrete and rock because they needed the horses to go up the steps. Like that was a real thing. So that was like a real serious construction project.
Wow.
Damn.
And they fought on it the entire time. Like it was just had to be hardy. Couldn't like tip over or whatever. But yeah, even when they're doing that with the big ones, they still like they blend in the small miniatures in the background and then add some CG characters. Like a lot of those full size shots of Helm's Deep is just, you know, different scale miniatures melted together with CG and like all this other shit.
Wow.
And it's all
it
in
looks
there.
good.
Yeah,
It still looks good. Interesting that that was their initial pitch. They wanted to talk about Helm's Deep, like as they were just sort of interesting.
They were selling the miniatures portion of the movie. Like that was a big selling point to the movie and how good it was going to look.
Huh. Because the end of it, it's when you think of the series, it's kind of defined by a lot of its groundbreaking CGI, not the miniature work so much. I mean,
well, that was because I think we talked about this too. That was mostly because of Andy Serkis. They didn't plan on doing that much CG until Andy Serkis got cast in an acting role as opposed to a voice acting role.
I see. Yeah, right.
So
You did talk about that too.
Yeah, they redid a lot of the script to include a lot more Gollum.
That's fair.
And it was because Andy's performance and voice were so good. So, yeah, I think that was just kind of something that developed. It wasn't planned that way.
Audible.
Yeah. But what was funny to do the planning of shot of that miniature of the Helm's Deep set is Peter Jackson and his production team bought what they said was 40,000 toy soldiers. They said they cleaned out the world supply of toy soldiers.
Oh, yeah. He told us about that too.
Did I talk about this?
Uh-huh.
And they just
we had that one, yeah.
You had this one. So they had pictures of what it looked like with all these toy soldiers just in front of this miniature. It was completely insane. And they'd have like this little camera and they'd go around and figure out how they wanted to shoot it and stuff. Good way to do it. The quarter scale set was the one they blew up. They actually blew it up. So that was a real shot with like a bunch of CG mixed in with all the people and all that stuff.
There's so much like looking ahead to having that kind of thing work, right? Where you're like, no, we're going to blow up the miniature. It's going to be great.
Do we have everything we need?
And you're like, how are you even picturing that working, right? Like, I can't imagine in my head, like the pre-production for that of like, we're going to build this miniature and we're also going to blow it up later. That's crazy.
You have to build it to be blown up. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Like they have to like prepare, like they have to know all the places to put
like how
things that
it's
are going to
be
blow it up. Right. And like,
and the materials they use and the way they put it together has to look good.
And like, you can't do that after. You have to do it while you're building the miniature. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty impressive just like how much forethought is required before they can even do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lots of thought, lots of good construction. It's weird because like in this movie, it's kind of in a lot of other movies, it's you think of the production team as artists kind of, but this one they're like construction
engineers,
teams.
Right?
They're like engineers and construction teams, yeah. Which I'm sure they kind of are too, but it's like way more so in this one than normal.
Right. Right. Wow.
The Barad-dûr Tower, which is the tower where the Eye of Sauron sits, was a model. It was 166 scale. In reality, it was 27 feet tall because the tower is supposed to be 2,000 feet tall. Wow. It was the biggest, tallest model they built, and they detailed it with like micro details. And even then, like they thought the scale was too small to make it look good with close-ups, but they did a lot of close-up shots to that model. Anytime you're panning around it, all the little bridge stuff. Even when they're moving the bridge, like all that's the model, and they just add CG and backgrounds to it.
Wow.
Micro detailing, which you need if you're going to shoot from as close as 2 inches away with a camera. 2 inches. How do you even do that? How do you focus? It's really close. Did we talk about how Fangorn was a miniature set? Or how it had a miniature set? They had a full-size set too. I don't think so. The miniature set they did for a lot of the long shots when they were having the little Ent round table, That shot was panning back was a miniature, and everyone in the middle was CG.
Entmoot.
Entmoot. Good job. Moot. Yeah. Moot is what? Conference in Entish?
Yep.
Nice. They made 150 handmade trees that were custom made from this guy. I think we talked about the tree designer.
The tree guy.
Guy. So 150 custom made trees all had to go through QC from this tree guy to make sure they were unique and properly tree-like in the way that they branch and whatever else trees do. The destruction of Isengard, that's when the Ents come and smash Sauron's little house there in the middle of the fiery field. There was a lot of questions on how they were going to do that. They were afraid that the Ents weren't going to look good. They didn't want to show the Ents too much. They didn't want to do that much for that scene in general because they were afraid when they were planning it how good the CG would look. But I think a lot of the Gollum technology that was going on the side made them want to put more CG in the movie because they were just like, we can do it. Like I think we have the time. This is actually going pretty good with Gollum. We're developing all these different ways we could do this. So they added a lot more tree stuff in, and they ended up doing an animatic during the beginning of the filming of this movie, which again, an animatic is like, it's kind of like storyboards, but it's like a video storyboard. It's like they make the scene through still images with the shots timed out and with voice actors and some animation and stuff like that, like a really rough cut of the scene just to see how it flows, just to see like what shots they want from it, that sort of thing. The dam being ripped down, they built this giant ass miniature that was holding a giant bucket of water, and they ripped down the boards that were supposed to be holding it up, but they built the wall too strong the first time and it didn't burst. So they had to rebuild a lot of it to have the water come out. But the second time the water came out, they filmed it in like high speed cameras. It is really hard apparently to get water to look like, to do miniatures with water in it because of surface tension, and your eye can, like, everyone knows what water looks like. It's really hard to fake it. So wherever instead of faking the water, they CG'd out the areas that would tell you it was a miniature, if that makes sense. So they would find where like the bubbles looked weird or like the surface looked weird, and they would just gloss it over and make it look like it does. And it looks pretty fucking awesome. That whole scene is
see nowadays
fun to look at.
Like if I were to, and this is a credit to it, what it looks like, it looks like really good modern CG, thinking that they're not using the combo of miniatures and such the way they are. Like when I watch the film now, I would if I were to see this film now, I'd assume this is all really good CG. Like there wasn't any models involved, because the CG technology has gone so far that these days that's usually, I don't know if a lot of people are going to opt for miniatures as much the way they would, but so it's pretty damn cool the way they did this. You know, they blended things the way they did, because it does look really good. The flooding scenes look pretty awesome, and the ints don't look that cheap. You know, they work. It seems to work.
Yeah, and it's pretty, like when they were coming up with ways to kill the orcs towards the end, the animation department did a bunch of rough cuts with some really violent things. And some of them made it in. Like they were just having fun doing really rough, like stick figure versions of the tree animations of like them ripping orcs to shreds, and like the stomping one where the foot is like right in front of the camera. That's pretty brutal. If that was like a human, that'd be, you care about it a little bit more sort of thing. But what really works in the flooding scene too is like the water is real. All the destruction of the wood is real. The people in the orc outfits are real. They recorded them and they inserted these little orcs into the footage as they run around and try to figure out what to do. So like the orcs in those shots are not CG sometimes, but sometimes they are. It's like a whole mishmash of shit, and there's so much going on that, you can't tell it's miniatures. You can't really tell what's going on. It kind of looks like you're just watching this happen. 791 shots for Weta for this movie. 791 effect shots. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's like 200 more than the Fellowship of the Ring.
We had a lot of orchestrated battles here. You had like three large battles.
We had the maybe four. You had the one in the beginning, the orc camp battle, which is kind of a smaller one.
That's true. That one seemed more, but maybe there's a lot of CG in there too. I don't know, but that one just seemed more like traditional. You know, you got your you're there on the scene with the hobbits kind of
There's
battle.
a lot of effect shots in that.
Yeah,
like they talked about how, I mean, it's weird because this one, it's not as obvious of all the tricks they're doing because things move a lot quicker, but there's one shot they focused on in the special effects where Pippin, I think, either Merry or Pippin is trying to escape the orcs, and there's a horse that crosses the screen, and he is dodging orcs, and he goes underneath the belly of the horse. He ducks
that
down
was sick.
and goes under.
They
That's
go backwards or something?
They shot
it
it 5 different times with motion control cameras, with like, blue screen effects going on, with it all timed out. They had like for Merry.
It looked like he was going on it backwards, like as if they took him off of it.
Yeah,
and then
but he wasn't.
It.
But you're confused in how they're doing it, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, he's not that small. He can't do that.
How did he get around that way? And how did he flip around?
They
backwards?
recorded the horse first, and then they put a bunch of action points on the ground, and they just, since they had the horse footage, they could have him go and then time it out, and they got better at it until it worked. And they're like, okay, we got the shot, we can meld that in. And in the background, you got all the orcs going on. You have any single time you see like blood or arrows flying or anything like that, that's a special effect that's in there. There's a lot of that stuff going on. So whenever there's something like that, that's an effect shot, right? It's just, it might
These
be
are like
almost all
extremely
practical.
well planned out technical shots that they had to get. Whereas, like, a lot of time people shoot and they're like, we just hope we get a great performance,
Yeah,
stick the camera anywhere and it'll work, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one is so calculated. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It is fun. The Treebeard character it was the most complex CG character at the time by far in this movie. For comparison, for Gollum, they rendered him a lot more, to be fair, but to render a single frame of his face took 8 minutes in the computer. To render a single frame of Treebeard's face took 48 hours.
Oh my God.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's a lot of like tree detail. I don't even know. He's got like hair. He's got a lot of tree texture and stuff. There's like a lot more 3-dimensional things going on. He's detailed as fuck. And that's just his face, because that's really all that was CG. Because, well, for the most part, the long shots were CG full body, but they built the giant Treebeard thing. I think we talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pippin and Merry were riding in it.
Yeah. And they thought that was going to work for the movie, but then they realized that because they built like the mouth and the eyes that all worked, but then once they got it, they're like, he's not expressive enough. We need to CG over this. And that's when it took a long fucking time to render it.
Damn.
I think we talked about Massive in the first episode, but not very much. There's this computer program called Massive that they created for these movies, and they used it a little bit in the first one with some orc running scenes, and the scenes where they're panning around like the where they're building stuff as orcs. They used Massive then. But in this movie, they used Massive for the Battle of Helm's Deep with all of the orcs. And basically what the program does is it automatically randomizes movements. And each individual character on screen you see has like their own traits and their own like thought process and their own movements, and it's all randomized. So like you can just say, I want 100,000 orcs, and I want like the parameters of their randomness in their face to be 2% different all the time. I want like all, and you can program all of it, and then you can run the program, and then you can go through and be like, okay, over here it didn't work, so like let's go to this guy. This guy's fucking it up because look at that, his setting is like his nose is like at 110%. That doesn't look good. All right, bring that down manually. And they would go through and just, instead of building each character one by one, they would throw all these randomized parameters out there and then fix what didn't work. And that's mostly what you see. They only ever had 100 orcs on screen, like real humans in orc outfits on screen at a time. Everything else was this program, and it looks really good. It's like really impressive how good that CG looks still, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell it's CG, but at the same time, it's really hard.
Still good.
And also they have, so Massive is just for the animations and the randomization of the actions. And then they also had like an add-on program or a separate program that worked with it called the Orc Builder, which is more of like the appearance of orc. And it was kind of the same thing, but it was like like a randomized character editor or something like that. So, and what they had is they had 4 different types of orcs for the Battle of Helm's Deep. And I forget what the 4 types were, but they had like different helmets for each of the 4 types, and they all had different actions and different weapons. They had different attitudes and all that stuff, but they didn't want all of them within their own, type to look the same. So there was like even more detailing within like the Berserker Orkai or whatever sort of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of programming, lots of nerdy programmers on during that talk. John, you might like that part a little bit. They're obviously very smart programmers because it looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. You'd think with that kind of technology, video game animations would be better by now, since this was over 20 years ago, but nope. Let's see. Oh, this is back in the day where an iPod was as good as an external hard drive, I guess. They had this, I don't know what you call him. This guy that was like a runner between teams to transfer data for the movie. And he had all these wet images on his iPod, all these rendered images that were kind of secret. Plus they took a long time to make, and they were downloaded on his iPod, and he was running like from the train station to the Weta studio. And he was being mugged, and he was like, I can't lose this. Like, we'll ruin the movie. Like, these guys will sell this online for a lot of money. So he booked it from these muggers. He ran full speed away from them, and they chased him for a bit, but he ended up getting away. But he was motivated by the fact that he had like Tree Beer's rendered face on his iPod, and he didn't want anyone else to see it.
I had heard of that before, that iPod being used as a storage device. That's kind of...
Yeah, and you wouldn't think it would be that much, right? Because you used to only be able to put like 100 songs on your iPod or whatever.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it was I don't know.
Maybe the high-end ones, I don't know. If you just paid a lot of money, they had, I don't know, maybe they had a lot of storage for the time.
The image couldn't have been that big, right? Because if he's doing it once a day, he might have one Tree Beard on there.
Maybe right? He's got one Tree Beard frame.
Just the one thing.
It's just the one, but it's worth a lot.
Tree Beard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
It's 2 days worth of work for that computer. You don't want to fuck that up.
That's just amazing, though. I mean,
Yeah. I think we talked about the studio wanting a prologue in this one, right? We talked about that.
Yep.
It was the opposite. Yeah. What they did for editing is they cut each story, like all 3 different stories at one time, and made sure the stories worked in those edits by themselves, and then started splicing
they did the interleaving.
The interleaving.
Yeah, it's interesting to think. I mean, just whether or not I guess you just couldn't do it. You couldn't just have these be separated. It would have really, because you'd be watching 3 different movies if you just separated them out. If you didn't interleave them, I think it was just a really daunting task, sort of there in terms of, because it didn't 100% work. It was hard to follow the film. And so.
TC, do you agree? He's nodding over there.
Yeah. But I don't know what they necessarily could have done to say all these things they wanted to say and still have it be just one movie.
No, I think the first one's easier to follow because they decided to focus on Frodo, which works because they're all together.
It was one character.
Right.
But there's one character in one narrative. There's even if there's other people coming in and out, it's still there. You got
this group, and they're going forward in one direction together. Right. That's the first one.
They're getting to Rivendell, and then that's where things mostly end. And so you have this path of the hobbits getting to Rivendell. And here, then you've just got so much splitting going on and separate stories and all kinds of characters. Each of those stories has new characters introduced, and it's tough. It's a tough one. I mean,
don't I know it?
I still get Gondor and Rohan confused, and I've seen this movie so many times. It's like they're next to each other. They're both next to frickin'.
Yeah, I get the warrior humans of the plains. They're just all sort of blend together a little bit. You know, I know there's the Rohans on the horses for sure, but then everybody.
So
else
his dad is heroic, but he kicked his son out. But that dad is kind of an asshole, but he also kicked his son out. So there's 2 kind of vagrant sons running around, and I'm supposed to be able to tell the difference between the 2.
Yep.
Come on.
I don't know.
It's a little confusing. I'll give it there. But that makes it fun to rewatch because I'm like, wait a minute. Who is Faramir related to? I don't remember. I'll figure it out. 2 years to edit each one of these movies. 2 years in the editing room each. Peter Jackson's style in the editing room is keep the shoes off, sit on a couch. There's one guy editing, and then Peter Jackson on the couch behind him with his relaxing his head, being relaxed. Just
must be great
directing.
What do they do? Like they doing 40 hours a week on that? What are they doing? Just
he's flying around a lot because they have like all the music stuff going on, and they have all the effects stuff going on still.
Okay.
There's a lot.
There's not just that editing going on. There's like all kinds of other things happening at the same time, post production, I guess too. Yeah. Oof.
It's just like a constant cycle.
The sound effects are being worked. There's a lot of sound effects in this movie. There's a lot of music in this movie, and he goes. I mean, he's he's really particular. He recut the ending scene is obviously very important in this one, but they had to recut that one over and over again because the score wasn't lining up with the edit, and the edit wasn't lining up with the score. So they were adjusting both at the same time so that the emotional impact was there when Sam was giving his like these are the really important stories monologue thing that he does at the end.
Yeah,
it's important. Still, he was right. They got it right. It's good stuff.
The ending's probably pretty weak. The weaker part of the film, though. Still,
you think?
Kinda.
I liked how it gave it like finally some direction. I'm like, okay, that we're getting some cohesion in this kind of messy narrative going on right now. We're wrapping it up. Wrap it up, movie. Let's get to the friggin' Return of the King, shall we? So they almost didn't allow this movie to submit for best score at the Oscars because at the time they didn't have very good rules about that. This movie has 10 or 11 minutes of the score from The Fellowship in it, and that almost made it so it wasn't worth it. But the producers of this movie were like, fuck that. That's like barely anything. This movie's 3 hours long. They eventually caved, and they ended up making some rules about how much new music you needed in a movie so it could be nominated again. And that such rule still stands, and that's the reason that Dune 2 didn't get nominated again, because you need like 80% new music in a movie.
Oh, really?
Like that. Yeah, it's a pretty hard and fast rule, and Hans Zimmer had like 60-something%. People were like up in arms, like this rule was written way the fuck back. It's a rule, we're following it.
Yeah, there's rules on stock footage, right? You can only use X amount of stock footage. So, these rules do exist for a reason.
They do. You need to have a 3-week run in New York and LA before the end of the year to be eligible, right? There's weird shit.
Yeah, just keeps the little guy down. You know?
I didn't know about the rules. Shit.
Right. These rules. Sorry, man, you didn't follow the rules. Well, nobody told me the rules. Well, they're not written down, but
better luck next time.
That's right.
You have to pay me to know the rules. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Fuck you, pay me.
They found, so Wellington is a place in somewhere. I don't know where that is. Is that Scotland? England? New Zealand? Wellington.
Anyway, New Zealand's generally the place where they were filming, unless they were somewhere else.
They did a lot of the audio recording in England at Abbey Road.
Okay.
Nice. There's a picture. They tried to get the Beatles Abbey Road shot, and then there was a fat Peter Jackson with no shoes on crossing Abbey Road over and over again. His cars were like whizzing by them and honking at them.
Nice. I would love to see if you had Frodo, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli all like doing the.
Yeah.
Would have been nice.
Apparently, people that live near the Abbey Road
they must
street,
hate it.
They're so mad at it. They were not friendly.
I guess not. It's like, what? Oh, you walking across the street, or you walking across the fucking street?
You going for people single file? Fuck you, honk.
Yeah.
I'll ruin your Instagram post, you motherfuckers.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
But at the same time, it's like a one-way street. Take another street. It's obviously a bad one.
It's a small place, that place.
Apparently. But that's still, so I think they might have been in England. I don't know. You can look it up. I don't know where. John, I was hoping to throw it out there. You do some internet research since you have your hands free, but don't worry about it.
What did you call it? What did you call it? I know you're paying attention.
Wellington.
Wellington?
Yeah, figure out where that is. So they found a cemetery near Wellington, which is where they were doing all like the mixing and mastering. And it was an abandoned cemetery, and they recorded all the effects shots, the screams, the crossbow sounds, the armor hitting stuff, all of this stuff in this cemetery in the middle of the night. And so all that stuff was like freshly picked up sound, and it was all real. Like those were real crossbow sounds, all of that stuff.
Cool. So Wellington is the capital city of New Zealand.
Oh, look at that. So it was New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Now we know, John. Knowledge is power. TC, you would appreciate there's one section, I think a lot of the sections, but this one section in particular of the sound and how they added it in.
Okay.
They showed the audio designers and what they do specifically. And the shot they went through piece by piece was the shot where the camera pans up during the Battle of Helm's Deep, and you have a bunch of archers firing arrows kind of at the camera, and they go past the camera, and it cuts to the orcs and them getting hit with the arrows. And it shows them layering on each individual sound.
As it comes by?
As it happens on the screen. So like they have, like it's like arrow firing, and then it has the arrow firing, and it's like arrow whoosh, and you hear just like the one whoosh, and you have arrow hitting the armor, and you hear that, and then you have like tail. There's like a tail whap, so like the feathers go at the end, and then you have like all these different things. There's over 10 of them. I didn't name all of them, but then it shows you the final image, and it's like all the sounds at once. You're like, holy shit, that's like 1 second of footage, and that took
it's a
so
ton of
much
stuff. Yeah, it
from
does.
the sound guy, and it sounds so good. Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
and they get no credit.
Yeah, because
know?
even just listening to it, you're like, oh, you record an arrow as it's flying through the air and get all the sounds. Like, no, there are each individual sounds, and you have to like place them exactly right
And make
to
it
match
up.
with each other and make it up. Well,
Right.
unless you have a real crossbow. Which
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like you're taking bows from probably all over the different sound libraries that they have, and they're just making up like ones that match right for
no,
what they're seeing.
They recorded
Oh, they
all of it.
recorded them. Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also think too, isn't it amazing that you see 400 bows, but you only get hearing 9 of them, 10 of them, and that's all your brain can handle. But it's perfect. It's all it needs to get the idea. You know?
Yeah. And they thought like for a lot of that stuff, like sound is really tricky because you think you hear a large crowd, and sometimes it doesn't work that way. If you have people yelling over each other, it makes you anxious a lot of the time. Like in what was it? Uncut Gems did that, and what was the more recent? Honora does that too, where it's like you have people talking over each other. That's 2 people overlapping audio. That makes people upset.
Yeah. Right.
But sometimes it works for the scene where Saruman takes Wormtongue out over the crowd he has. Like Wormtongue is surprised that he has this giant army in front of him, and they start chanting something in whatever language they speak. To get that audio, they went to, I think I might have said this one too. Apologies if I did. He went to a cricket stadium with 25,000 people.
Oh, yeah. You're telling us that.
And he
yeah.
made people stomp around. So like that was actually a large crowd of people.
I needed it. Yeah.
But it's kind of just one thing. It's so like, mushed together that it kind of sounds like one thing. But yeah, lots of audio shit. Good trivia.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff I'm repeating. Good for me.
That's fine.
At least I'm remembering. I'm repeating them at the end. It's got to be worth something.
Again, with this film, just so much talent and care and hard fucking work going into every aspect of it.
Just so many details. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like
dog noises. Who was this? I forget. So there was a guy on the audio team. They needed dog noises. Was it dog or warg? I forget.
Was it the warg? Probably the wargs. There's
probably
not
the
other
wargs.
dogs, really.
that look like dogs.
Yeah. So I think it was, they didn't know. Yeah, that's right. Because they didn't even know what they looked like yet. And he was running out of time to make the sound effects for it. So they couldn't find anything that sounded weird. So the guy just made dog noises into the microphone. So all the warg noises were this
like
one sound guy making them
dog
with
noise.
his mouth
Nice.
and like putting them through filters and stuff.
Just like dudes in no window rooms jumping around and making noise.
Yep.
It's
So cheese grater on a string. That's a good thing if you want some sound. You whip it around your head and you record it, and that's what the tail swish portion of that arrow thing is.
Okay.
They had the Foley guys on there for a while. There was 2 Foley guys for this entire movie, and they were pretty funny characters. They liked each other, and they just got to fuck around all day. They had this giant studio with all the shit you could ever think of to like throw, stomp, crash. Like they were just breaking shit all day, every day.
all the time. Did it work? Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Nice.
No. Yeah,
Next.
throw it away. Delete.
I mean, they like a lot of their job is putting on outfits and walking around and recording what it sounds like when you're walking around with like a bunch of leather on, with a bunch of armor on, like different weights of armor. Like you want all that different stuff. You want all of it. And
they have like those 5x5 squares, and it's like sand, gravel.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And they had these microphones just on like, it wasn't a person holding it. They had like an automatic, you could just like pull the microphone to a spot and let it go and it would stay there.
That's sick.
Yeah. It was a pretty large space. I've seen some Foley areas before, but this one was like very, very big.
Lots of money.
Air impact. Towards the end of the edit, it was 24/7 audio mixing. 3 different teams, 24/7, 7 days a week. That's the 7 and 24/7. But just to meet the deadlines, because towards the end, people remember how crushed it was because the release date's in December, and they're still very much working on everything in like September, October.
Wow.
With like 2 months left before it's being shown in theaters. People are going nuts
freaking out
because you got to make that Christmas deadline.
Right.
You gotta, right? There's no pushing it back at that point.
Yeah.
Damn. 1 year past 1 year past post-production for the Two Towers was the darkest time in the 7-year production, is what people said.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. The 1 year of post-production for this movie was the darkest time. I think it's because it was in the middle. This was the hardest film to make just because the narrative was so unknown. In the editing, it sounded like they didn't think they got it a lot of the way. Like it was just, they admitted that it was the hardest story a lot of the time. The the woman who plays Eowyn is the only person in this movie in the commentary tracks that talks negatively about the movie or herself. So she's in there. She's a little force of negativity in this movie. Yeah, it's just some people were in the middle of it, I think. I don't know. Helm's Deep sounded like shit too. We talked about that. Just the 3 months at night, 4 month total shoot, right? Talk about that one?
Yep.
I think so. Dom, who plays Mary, I think, one of the two other hobbits, Dominic is his name. He was allergic to his cape, and he got a lot of shit because he complained about it all the time, but everyone else is getting really injured, but he's just there being like, oh, my cape's making me sneeze. It's making me
they're
itchy.
like, dude, I just broke my foot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, well, at least you have this low level annoyance
They
every
got
damn day.
Claritin at the first aid kit, okay?
Mm-hmm. And you have John Rhys Davis, his freaking eyes are like getting all puffy and his face is closing up, and he's like, oh, my neck is itchy. I can't tell anybody.
Right.
Brett Beatty was Gimli's scale double. I don't think I said his name the first episode. He's a guy that did all the running around next to Aragorn and what's his name? Orlando Bloom there. The commentary track, yeah, I think I already said that. Andy Serkis did the voices of the three orcs when they had the hobbits at the bonfire.
Oh, he did those? Oh.
Yeah, the ones where they're like, one of them's a deep booming voice and he's like, oh, we need something to eat here. And then one guy's like, yeah, we need fresh meat. And it's like, it's just varied shit. All Andy Serkis. They had him in the sound booth. They're like, hey, can you do some orc voices? And he's like, hell yeah.
I'm around.
I'm a pro.
Nice.
Are you going to pay me more?
$150 a day, though.
Yeah. 150 per orc? What do you think?
No. We give a day rate. To
No,
$150.
Andy, you're going to
12
be
hours of
famous.
work.
Come on. Just trust us.
He's already getting a shit ton for a Gollum. Wormtongue went method. If you watch him, he has a normal accent. He went 24/7 British accent. Peter Jackson, when they were done with all of the scenes, met him for the first time, basically, as he switched back to his American accent and was thrown very much off guard. The scene where they were filming the Ent battle at Isengard, Dom and Billy, Merry and Pippin, were on the model for Treebeard, and they were just getting yelled at by Peter Jackson while they were being filmed. They were having things thrown at them. They were throwing things. They're like, oh, watch out, there's a thing coming from the right. Oh, and then there's an orc down there, throw rocks at him. Oh, and then all this stuff as they were bouncing him around and stuff like that. They were just getting berated with insults and direction.
Wow.
It was fun for them. I think I have two more things. The armor repairs for Helm's Deep were done every day. So during the day, there was this whole team of people that had to repair all the armor for everybody. So that was their day job, was the repairs of this armor, which was mostly real.
That's pretty crazy that they have like a whole team.
Yeah, whole team, whole huge warehouse. Because like it's a lot of armor. They need just the space to hang it. And then they have like a blacksmith and they have all these other people like tailors and all these other detailers and stuff like that to make it ready for that same day, right? Because it's like they're turning around, they're doing it again, over and over again.
There's just so many details.
Mm-hmm.
So much preparation for this.
Yeah. So many people, so many freaking warehouses full of shit. It's crazy.
I know.
And the last piece of trivia I thought was pretty funny. So Elijah Wood is usually the nicest guy ever. He's super positive, very friendly. He still is. Like if you ever see him in interviews,
collected.
Yeah, and it's really, he's more positive than anyone else on this entire crew, which is great because he had some of the hardest stuff to do, and he stayed positive, which helped everyone else stay positive. And there was one scene though he kind of broke that at least a little bit, and that's why it was extra funny. Where Peter Jackson told, it was when he was pointing the sword at Samwise when he pulls him off the bridge when he's about to be attacked by the big dragon there with the Nazgul on top of it. And he has the sword underneath his head. And he's pointing it at it, looking all mad. And Peter said, all right, I want you to take the sword and I want you to put it right under his chin. And then Elijah turns and goes, which one?
Oh,
because he's fat. Everyone else on set was making fun of Sam because he was fat, including himself, because he's not usually that big, but he intentionally stayed that fat for the role. And this is like the one time that Elijah was joked on him too, and everyone on set burst out laughing.
I mean, that's
because it was
funny.
out of character. Yeah.
How can you, he's just queued up for him right there. He had to take it, right?
It's funny because I'm sure he was thinking of other ones the entire time and just didn't say it because he's too nice of a guy. But this one was just like, oh, I gotta say it.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn funny, actually, especially coming from him.
So the next one, TC, I think you might like it more. Who knows? It's the most crowd pleasing, perhaps. It's the longest, which is kind of the opposite of crowd pleasing in some respects, but 3 hours and 20 minutes long.
The next Lord of the Rings, you're saying.
The next Lord of the Rings. The Return of the King. Watch the theatrical cut, otherwise you'll be
there for
it's
days.
Like 4.5. I think it's 4.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Extended.
Yeah, okay, theatrical cut it is, and that's what, 3.5?
3:20. Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's tough for these, buddy.
All right, but this will be good
yourself.
'cause it's the last one. I mean, it's something, I guess.
It's something. Yeah. And you will have seen it.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a bit.
We'll see you
All right,
later,
see you
John.
later.
We'll see you later, Danny. All right.